first off, thank you so much for inviting me to be here for your lunch. I know you guys have a lot of other things you could be doing on this beautiful day, so hopefully I'll be worthy of your time to talk about some things that are very important to College Station and Bryan and the Brazos Valley, and how I fit in with a lot of that. So thanks for having me here. I started 36 years ago as a professional artist out of my dorm room. So it's dorm 6, room 210 in the Corps of Cadets. And they sometimes, I've heard, use me as an example of what you cannot do at Texas A&M in terms of starting a business out of your dorm room. But for me, it was a necessity because I was 100% on my own paying for college. And I was very fortunate that I got a lot of scholarships to come to Texas A&M and to keep me at A&M. But to offset those costs, at the time in my sophomore year, I had a lawn maintenance and landscaping business where I was mowing yards everywhere. And occasionally people remind me of that. You used to mow my yard. So February of that year, you're not mowing a lot of yards. And so I turned to my artwork and started selling art pieces to different outfits in the Corps, starting with my outfit, doing t-shirts, designs, things like that. And it's interesting, he said that I sold my first art piece whenever I was 6 years old. It was actually my first grade teacher who bought it. So, and from there I realized that when I did an art piece and then sold it, I no longer had the art piece. So then I made copies. And so by junior high, I was making magazines called Fantasy Magazine and selling them at school. And that was a lot of fun to do the art and then write the stories. I did like science fiction and things like that. So I always had the art, innovation, inspiration inside of me. I always knew since I was a young kid that I was passionate about doing art, being an artist. I knew my path. I grew up on a horse ranch in the middle of nowhere. And I truly believe that the art spirit touches people all over the world, regardless of where you live, because I was a complete enigma. Everybody's like, what the heck is this kid doing? Always creating and drawing and doing all these things like that. And I was always told you could not make it as an artist. You can't make a living as an artist. And so that's why I worked really hard to study architecture at Texas A&M so I could use my art. But then the irony of the whole thing is that I turned to my art as a sophomore, and by my senior year, it was a full-fledged business. And I remember I was in my senior boots in the Memorial Student Center. My outfit would sponsor me to go. They would get a percentage of sales so that we could have a table. Student organizations would sponsor people to have a table. Right next to me was Fadi, who started Aggie Land Outfitters, who's still right next to me on University Drive. He sold t-shirts and I sold my artwork. And so I looked up and I saw this long line that went through the post office and out the door and to the back, and I thought, wow, that is a long line. What is that for? And the guy that was standing there, he said, it's for you. And I thought, you're kidding. So I got up and I looked back and I looked down the row and it came back around and I thought, I better get busy signing then. So from then on, my art career took off. I was very fortunate to be at the right place at the right time in doing artwork for Texas A&M overall. And then 1996, the George Bush Presidential Library Museum, an organization asked for me to do all the artwork for President Bush when he came here for the museum store, which was all, I donated all of the art and all the work for that. They used for the commemorative coins, the first day covers, all of the, with the U.S. Postal Service, all of the art prints. It was on cameras, on t-shirts, coloring books, all different types of things. All the stuff that President Bush signed for donation items and things like that with my artwork it was a real honor to be involved. And of course that catapulted my career and notoriety as an artist, notability. And one of the coolest things is to be at a football game with President Bush and they start playing Saw Varsity's Horns Off. And so we're all there sawing Varsity's Horns Off, and it dawned on me, I'm sawing Varsity's Horns Off with the former President of the United States, you know. And I believe it was Earl Nye that was with me too, who was like the president of the Board of Regents at the time. So that led to other great opportunities as well. The Daughters of the Republic of Texas invited me to do the Native Texan license plate. This is back whenever you could only choose 3 or 4 license plates. Now you can choose everything. You know, like I love my cat, or I love dogs, or flowers, or whatever. You can choose whatever you want. But back then, there were very few choices, and one of the very first ones that they made available was the Native Texan one. And so they asked if I would do the license plate design. And I did the Alamo with the San Jacinto Monument with the Texas flag behind it, and donated all of that as well. It's generated 3-4 million, I don't know how many millions of dollars that it's helped to continue to develop the Alamo and so forth. So 2 years ago, I was honored with one of the top awards in Texas. I am a official daughter of the Republic of Texas, unofficial, so to speak. But, which is great, because at first I thought it was like, oh, I'm a unofficial daughter of the Republic, but what a great opportunity and a great, you know, honor to do that. Governor Rick Perry, when he was in office, he also asked me to do the official gift of Texas, which was the state gift that he gave to dignitaries and so forth. So that led to all these other opportunities and great things.
Could you speak just a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. Is that better? Speaking. Sorry about that. So this whole time, that's why you've been just, you haven't been smiling or nodding your head or anything. You've been just staring me down. Now, okay, good. Here, I think we're going to do some. There we go. Great, thank you. So my gallery, I'm going to go backwards a little bit. Whenever I completed the core, I had it out of my house on Tim Street. And I was still a student for 3 years after the core. I did 3 victory laps. That's what it's called whenever you take a little extra time. I was explaining how I did this with President Gates when he was president of the university. What I would do is I would take 12 to 15 hours, and then I'd Q drop down to 9 or less and still be a full-time student. And that enabled me to still be a full-time student and focus on developing my art career at the time. And he looked at me and he said, yeah, we don't let them do that anymore. So that enabled me to take a lot longer with school, but my house became my gallery. And the first thing I did is I met all my neighbors, and I had them all come over and see the artwork that I was doing so that they knew what I was up to. Because I think also, I don't know if you can run a business out of your house as well, but it's kind of like when it's a gallery, it's your studio, that becomes kind of questionable as well. So when it got really busy on graduation day and you had all these people coming to my house, all my neighbors would come over and say, this is great, you got everybody getting your artwork. So that worked out really well to do that. Then in 1993, when I finally graduated, I opened the first gallery in College Station that was artist-owned on University Drive, and continued to develop that. In 2001 is whenever I brought the College Station train station back as the gallery. I was looking to build a gallery. In the 90s, there was all this talk and all this interest about bringing the College Station back. But the university didn't know what to do with it once they brought it back. And they had the Amtrak station, if you remember that they still had people using that kind of off and on. And so they were thinking about bringing it back. And I thought, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring the College Station back. And so I dove into all the history of the Houston, Texas Central line that was initially here, the train line that was initially here, that basically is the reason why Texas A&M is here and why Texas A&M was placed here in the Brazos Valley, is because it had the railroad that ran through. In 1900, excuse me, in 1900, Southern Pacific took over the railroad line. And if you go and you research all the different train stations and depots across the state of Texas that were built in 1900, they all have the same, basically, modeling, dimensions, and so forth. And so in scouring through all of the photographs that I could find in the archives, also with the research for doing all my artwork and everything, I was able to basically do a grid to where the windows of the College Station are 4-inch by 4-inch, and that's pretty standard. The ceiling height's 12 feet. But with that 4-inch by 4-inch, with my degree in architecture and with all the archival photos and all the research, I was able to do an exact replica of what the College Station looked like. And so we contacted Governor Perry to come and dedicate the depot, and he agreed to do that because he said that was high on the coolness factor. Our guest of honor was Margaret Rudder, back whenever she was here. And we thought, well, we definitely want to have Margaret. We had both mayors for College Station, Brian, President Ray. Tom made it. Good to see you, Tom. So we had the president of the university at the time, lots of people. So it was 2001 that we did this. It was right after 9/11. When we dedicated this. And so everybody was still pretty high and pretty emotional about that. And we also had the bonfire that had fallen in 99. So we invited all the parents that had lost their kids in the bonfire. And I would say 9 of the 12 came. And then we had a surprise for everybody. And I had Aaron Barker, who is this writer for George Strait, who wrote The Bluest Eyes in Texas and lots of other songs for George Strait. He had written a song called Angels on the Bonfire. And he got up on the, and we said, we have a surprise for everybody. And he got up and sang that song, and there was not a dry eye anywhere. Even the governor, I mean, we were all just really blown away by that. So that was a great opportunity to bring back the College Station, the train station. In 2005, I brought in a caboose. It's a 120-year-old caboose, which I'm real excited. I'm about to do some restoration work on that. I brought it from California. It's from Bergamot Station. Originally, it's a Pennsylvania railroad. It's not Southern Pacific. It was one of the ones that Carnegie used in the Industrial Revolution. And so a farmer in Iowa had protected that caboose for 70 years. And then a gallery owner in Los Angeles on Santa Monica Boulevard bought it because it was the Bergamot Station converted into an art gallery. And whenever I was living in California at the time, I thought, a friend of mine invited me to go, and I thought, I might find a train artifact there. And so I went to Bergamot Station, and there was the caboose. And literally, I walked up, and I thought, this is amazing. And I went in, and the owner came out. He played for the Los Angeles Dodgers, and he owned the caboose. And he said, I'm sorry, I don't have insurance for you to get on the caboose. And I said, well, is it for sale? And he said, yeah, absolutely. I said, well, I want to buy it. It was literally that quick. And he said, well, you're in luck because I'm selling it for what I paid for the caboose in the 1970s. And the reason why is because it was getting tagged. It was right on Santa Monica Boulevard, and some high school kids were going and tagging the caboose and spray painting it, and then writing obscenities. So he'd have to go and repaint it again, then they would tag it again, and it was becoming the cycle. He even had the police sleeping in the caboose to make sure that they weren't going to do that. They would stay there, and then the next day the police would leave. They would go and tag it again. And so it's perfect timing because he was ready just to get rid of it. And I said, okay, I want it. So then moving it was a whole nother cost. So that we had to use a lowboy truck. You take it off of its trucks, or its wheels, and you put it on 2 different lowboy trucks. And we brought it to College Station and put the caboose here. I also glassed in the porch area to keep it open, but to add the glass so that I could use that space. I had in my mind, since I was living in California, I had in my mind, it would be so cool if Bryan College Station had a wine bar, and wine goes with art, and so this will be a fun thing to do. So we opened the first wine bar in the Bryan College Station area. I worked with Mr. G. I don't know if you remember Mr. G's Pizza in Huda. So we started that, and then I started adding on to the gallery with the vision of doing more of an art center. And my concept, and what I'm holding strong to, is doing something that promotes art in the community. My long-term goal with everything that I'm doing is for it to become a foundation and continue to promote the arts in the community. For years, it's felt like I've been dragging the arts along and trying to promote the arts in the Brazos Valley and area. I've had a lot of great success in doing art for the state and nationally, and to be based here in College Station, it's a real honor to be able to do that. But I feel like our community itself is not as supportive of the arts as it could be. There's been several attempts that I've made to try to do an arts district, to try to do things to promote the arts more, and it's been really interesting how it's not met very well. So it's been a challenge. That's why I'm saying I feel like I've always been kind of ahead of the curve dragging the arts. But I do think in the long term, hopefully I have another 30 years, 40 years of productive time. And I really feel like I'm just getting started. A lot of my buddies have gone out and had these successful careers. A lot of them have been in pilots in the Air Force, and they've flown, and they've done all these great things, and they're now retiring, and I'm going, man, I'm still here, and I'm still just getting started, But I do think it's important to do something that's going to outlive you, just like the way that Benjamin Franklin, he did so many things that outlived him, that keep you engaged, motivated, passionate about what you're doing. And I'm a lifelong artist. Like if I was to retire, I would do exactly what I'm doing and just do more painting. I do less of the business stuff and focus more on the arts. So my long-term goal is to continue to promote the arts here in the area, but on a global scale, but to have my headquarters here next to Texas A&M and maybe be more affiliated with A&M in that way, and to do a foundation that continues to do that. And so I look at that, and I know it sounds like a lofty goal, but if I have all of the 36 years of building what I've done, and I still have, hopefully, God willing, another 30 productive, solid years, then that enables me to develop that national level and be able to do that in terms of that. One of my mentors is David LaFell, and he's 94 years old. He lives in Taos, New Mexico, and he still is, to this day, still teaching, still painting, still winning top national awards. So he's not only a mentor, but a hero to me of how you can continue to grow and continue to do that. And so one of the things we are doing now that we've kicked off that you guys might be really interested in and find pretty fun is last Fridays for College Station. And so, yeah, I don't have to say anymore. The next thing I say, it's art, music, and wine, last Fridays. And so that's what we're promoting at the gallery, and where I've been doing live demonstrations. I want to cultivate it to bring in more artists. We have live music. We bring in different wine flights from different regions and really good wines, just particularly for that night. It's a community event. I had families that were hanging out. I had some young kids that were watching me paint and that were modeling for me. So I think this is going to be something that will take off and really develop over the course of probably this spring, in terms of doing that. Last Friday, this month is right before the A&M Texas game. So it's also Black Friday. So we're marketing it as Last Friday, Black Friday. So we're doing more of an afternoon thing because my buddy Pat Green's going to be playing at Reed Arena, so we want to go to that as well. Then last Friday in December, we're actually doing as Last Friday before Christmas. And so that way we can have someone who plays Christmas music and do more of a Christmas type fun thing. But the whole way I look at it is a community service. It's like for my facility to do something that can be a community involved area that promotes culture, promotes the arts. And I really want to bring in more artists and other things too and do some cool stuff. So as this evolves and develops, I think it'll be real exciting to see in the next few years what the gallery is going to be doing. My latest painting, which I brought, has been getting a lot of attention. I was just told it's going to be used in the Dallas Morning News either this Sunday or the following Sunday. And when I was asked to present this was at San Antonio for Coaches Night. And so I presented this. The #1 print went to Coach Elko. And the #2 print he signed, and they immediately went to auction with that one. But Coach Elko said, yes, I understand the significance and the importance of this game. What's been really funny is hearing the different. So I made it to where it's the Lone Star rivalry, and I made it to where the painting is not. It's not persuasive towards one team or the other. Now the interesting thing about this, I'll get into some artistic type of creation. When I did this painting, the first thing I did is toned the canvas maroon on this side and burnt orange on that side. And then after that, I drew in the figures. I have been photographing the games, the football games, since 1995. And anything that's happened historically in the area and at Texas A&M, I'm usually, and you guys have probably seen me, I'm right in the middle of it with my camera. A few weeks ago, ESPN did a national story on me that was pretty fun. They came to the gallery and they talked about the artwork, and then they showed me on the field. They said, hey, it's going to be 2 minutes before halftime. We want to film you on the field in your element with your camera. And so I went over to the Yell Leaders. They're great friends, great guys. And I said, hey guys, if you can meet me in front of the cannon, that's where I told ESPN, I'm going to be in front of the cannon. I told the guys the cannon, and then the band's there because it's about A&M. The whole reason they're featuring me on ESPN is because I'm portraying A&M. So let's make it really A&M. So it was really fun because then when the camera came over to me, here I was with the Yell Leaders and the band and everybody. It was pretty cool. Then later in the game, for some reason, I don't know why, but Reed threw the ball out of bounds right to me. And I caught the ball. And so I texted the guys at ESPN. I said, I sure hope you got that, because you're not any more in the game any more than that than when they're throwing the ball to you with that. So with one side being maroon and one side being burnt orange, then whenever I created the painting, I left pieces of that underlying color underneath. So psychologically, you see more maroon even around the star if you're an Aggie. If you're from Austin, you see more burnt orange because it's kind of haloing around the star and around there. And so there's a psychological element. I often hide things in my paintings. I think very deeply about what I'm creating. I just completed a commission painting. He's coming by today. Actually, I asked if he'd be in town and join us today. He's coming by today to pick it up. It's a big landscape painting. And this gives you an idea of like the emotion that art can produce and create. Art is a visual language that can touch anybody. I've had people that are the toughest Marines you've ever seen come in and break down and cry when they see an art piece. It's pretty amazing with that. So with his painting, his mother passed away a few months ago, and she always sang to him, "You are my sunshine." And so he went out to the ranch that night and saw this absolutely beautiful sunset with rays of light that were shining out. And he thought, and I'm honored he thought this, but he immediately thought of me doing a painting for him. And so he asked me if I would do this. And so I finished the painting, and he's going to present it at her celebration of life. And he's doing some giclée. This is a giclée on canvas. He's doing a surprise gift for his siblings. And so those types of things are so emotional that I get the opportunity to do these really cool projects like that. And so there's all this meaning that is often in there, in the pieces. What's been funny to hear is, anybody from Texas says, "Oh, well, Bevo will run right over Reveille," But then the Aggies will say, "Well, if Reveille's like a good cow dog, she'll know exactly how to go around and snip at his back heel and get him to do whatever she wants." And so in the piece itself, he looks pretty concerned, and Reveille looks pretty happy and like she knows what she's doing. So there's a lot of fun things in there. So I have a lot of paintings that are in the works. If you get a chance to come to the gallery, I know I've seen a lot of people here I've seen before. Last Fridays, it's a playoff of First Friday. It's a great time to come to the gallery and have live music, enjoy some different types of wines. We do flights and things like that, and do art demos. That's a good time to come and to see that. But also to see all the different art pieces. I don't just do A&M related things. I have lots of landscapes. I've worked with some of the top artists in the nation purposefully. I kind of did it backwards. I started the career, and then from there I was able to go out and seek out these great artists and work with them. And so there's a lot more dynamic to what I do than just doing A&M football, as a lot of people think. I'm doing landscapes, I'm doing portraits, and so in the gallery you'll see this constant evolving of different pieces and different things like that. A couple of years ago, I was honored to do a 16-foot wide painting. It's basically the size of that wall, to honor the memory of President Bush when the 4141 brought him back to College Station. And we were thinking, what do we call it? And it just came simple, the ride home. It's the ride home, because this is where his home is. And it went through a ranch that my friends were on their horses, Matt Nichols, and they were all out on the ranch, and his wife got a photograph of them as the train went by. And that, I looked at that and it just inspired me, and I asked her if I could use that as the painting. So the painting, the reason why it's so big is so that you can see the 4141 and the funeral car. And the only way to see that is to stretch it out, because in perspective, you wouldn't be able to see it any other way. And with the horses and with them riding out and tipping their hats. Now, in talking to Matt, I asked him, if it's fine if I use these photographs. He said, yes, but I want you to put my dad in there too. And his dad played football at A&M under Gene Stallings. And so I thought, oh, definitely, I'm going to have him holding the flag. And so I grouped everything where there's the group of them as 4 and 1. And then I hid quail in there because Texas quail grouped as 4 and 1. And so everything is grouped in the painting as 41. And there's lots of symbolism there. But that is a permanent piece in the Allen building, which is the lobby of the Bush School. And President Bush, to me, is a true hero, because how many other presidents have created something that's going to continue to give back and develop students for the next 100 years and continue to make a difference? And he thought about all of that and how that could continue on. And I'm seeing the results of that when you go up to DC and you see these students from the Bush School that are going out and making a difference and doing amazing things. So that has inspired me a lot of what I was talking about earlier in terms of doing my foundation. You know, I'm thinking about how I can do things with art, with the passion that I've had that could continue on beyond me. And then I'm a conduit. You know, it just flows through me. Everything I do, I look at it as it's just flowing through me. It's my art. I was able to attend A&M because of all the scholarships that I got. So it was important that I started the same scholarship so other students could do that as well. And one of the first ones I did, I got the Sol Ross Scholarship. And that is in the Corps Cadets. And I called up a gentleman to ask him if he would do the first Sol Ross. I was the first recipient to give one back. And so I called him up and I said, are you interested in helping with, and he said, I'm not interested. I said, well, it's with the Corps Cadets. And he said, I'm interested. And I said, I want to do a last Corps trip scholarship. Is Buddy Duvall, class 49, who wrote the last Corps trip. And he and I became great friends after that. And we fulfilled that scholarship in one weekend just by doing the prints and both of us signing those. But having those opportunities to continue to give back to all charities. We do about, about 5 to 7 things a week on average. So I do about 5 to 7 charitable donations a week. You can see how that adds up over the course of years. And then there's some things that we get involved with. This last year, the Alamo is doing a whole new museum. If y'all haven't had a chance to go and see all the improvements and things they're doing at the Alamo in San Antonio, I recommend it. But one of the things they asked me to do a large painting of the live oak that's next to the Crockett Fountain. If you're looking at the Alamo to the right, there's a big live oak next to the Crockett Fountain. And it was their #1 fundraising item was my painting along with, you get to name the tree. So it's really you get to name the tree. But my painting kind of like carriaged along with that. But that brought in $277,000. So to be able, and of course there's a donation to do that, but to be able to stand up there and know that I'm helping with history and helping with doing that and things like that. So any charitable events that you guys are involved with, and I know that you guys are involved with a lot, and everybody has a different passion. There's something that has touched you or inspires you. And so if there's a charitable event or something, feel free, don't hesitate to ask, because we donate art prints to things all the time. I don't donate money. I do not donate money because my money doesn't do as well as my art does. And it's really my art that's doing it. And that's the beauty of it. I'm the conduit, and it's the art. So if somebody asks me, hey, will you donate $500 to this? It's like, no, but I'll donate an art piece to that. And then people will get in a bidding war, and it goes for $15,000. And it's like, it's doing so much more. So I realize that the importance of the art is so much more beyond, what I'm doing. I'm the humble servant, if that makes sense. And that helps me to realize the importance of that and my passion for that and passion for creating in what I do. And so also, if any of you guys want to get involved in the future, as the gallery is developing more as an art center and we're promoting the arts more, there'll be opportunities for people to get involved and do some fun things. So I'd love to host you to do that as well. And I'll open it up for questions. I think he's asking me if I'll leave now.